Greetings and welcome to my workshop, Discover and Sketch the Toucan Family. This is a bonus workshop inside my course, Sketching Neotropical Birds. In case you haven't met me before, hi, I'm Christine Elder. I'm a naturalist, environmental educator, and visual artist, and I love traveling, especially in the neotropics, and I've been lucky to see many members of the toucan family. So the plan for this workshop is we're going to learn about the toucan family, and then we're going to go do a step-by-step drawing demonstration of the collared Aracari. So your downloadable handouts include 2 pages, one in which you will draw your collared Aracari, and the second is a bonus handout for you to continue practicing sketching members of this family. So your materials should be graphite pencils, and then I'm going to be doing a quick demonstration of colored pencils. So you may want to have those available as well. So let's start talking about this family. We're going to talk about the bigger picture of the order that this family belongs to. So the toucans belong to the order Picaformes. That includes woodpeckers, piculets, nunbirds, puffbirds, jacamars, honeyguides, barbets, and toucan barbets. All of these have representatives in the neotropics or are exclusively neotropical. So in this order, all members, including the toucans, nest in cavities, and they lack down feathers because they stay warm in the cavity and they don't need the feathers. They're mostly insectivorous, although some are omnivorous, like the toucans, and they have toes like a parrot. That's called zygodactyl organization of the toes, in which 2 toes are in the front and 2 toes are in the back, as opposed to the songbird group or passerines, which have 3 toes in the front. So noticing that, we'll want to notice that closely when we go ahead and do our sketching. So here we have another example. You see the outer toe is a bit longer than the inner toe. So now we're going to show a bunch of really pretty eye candy while we talk about the characteristics of the toucan family within that order Picaformes. So the toucans, they're known as the Ramphastidae family, official name of the family. They're large, heavy-bodied birds. Their stout, decurved, serrated bill that is colorfully patterned is probably their most obvious feature, and they're strictly neotropical. It includes 5 genera and about 36 species. It does not include the toucan barbets, even though they have the word toucan in their name. So toucan barbets are in a different family in that same order of Picaformes. So continuing on with their characteristics and just showing you more examples within this family. Again, they're large, heavy-bodied birds. They've got that stout, oversized, decurved, and serrated bill. So it's serrated along this edge. And each species has different interesting patterns, unique patterns to their bills. Now, why is that bill so outsized? Well, it could be their diet, could be needing to make cavities for their nests, but it's also thought to be important in heat loss. And the nostrils are right at the very top. So that bill, even though it looks really large and heavy, it's pretty light. It's made of keratin, the same material as your fingernails. And so it is highly vascularized. So it is able to expel heat from the body. And many of these birds do live in quite hot environments, hanging out in the upper canopy of the rainforest where there's lots of sun. So those are a couple reasons that the bill could be so large. So the sexes are similar in meaning that the male and female look similar, only they can tell the difference. They're monogamous, meaning they are in a pair all by themselves, although sometimes they do a nest in a group, but the male and female stay together and both care for the chicks. So as I mentioned earlier, their distribution is strictly neotropical, neo meaning new. So that means the New World's tropics of Central and South America compared to the Old World tropics of Asia and Africa. So this family is just in this area. And their habitats range widely depending on the species. So, usually in forests, although they can be in forest edges, and they are attracted to plantations where different fruit species are grown, and oil palm and cacao. So, they can be in the hot lowlands or up to the high elevation cloud forests. And here's a collared aracari in one of its favorite trees, the cecropia tree, eating a cecropia fruit. And here's a picture of the cloud forests. Obviously, we've got lots of clouds. And in the trees, you'll see lots of really cool bromeliads and ferns and orchids, and even epiphytic arboreal cactus grow up there alongside with the toucans. And here's an example. I saw one in Tikal National Park in Guatemala, where the Mayan ruins, a very famous park to see Mayan ruins, as well as lots of wildlife, including lots of different birds like the toucans, and also parrots, hummingbirds, and lots of mammals as well. I saw a tyra here even. So, in terms of family life of this family, the Ramphastidae or toucan family, they nest in tree hollows, generally created by woodpeckers and enlarged by the toucans. Sometimes toucans can make their own nest cavities if the tree is dead long enough and soft enough. They have 1 to 5 chicks that incubate for a couple weeks. They're born blind, and then they fledge around 6 weeks. So they care for them for about 4 weeks. And again, here is that they're nesting in woodpecker-excavated cavities. So there are many species of large woodpeckers in the neotropics, including this pale-billed woodpecker that have much stronger bills. Even though the toucans look like they have strong bills, the woodpeckers are more evolved to actually excavate those cavities. So toucans find old cavities that have been abandoned by the woodpeckers, and that's what they use for their nests. And here's some really cute pictures of a pair of baby toucans. This photo courtesy of my friend James Adams, who runs Natural Selections birding watching tours. So both sexes forage and feed the growing chicks. So here is which one is it? I don't know. One of them is the chick and one of them is the adult being fed. Looks like this is the chick here reaching into the mouth of the adult to get the food. So their diet is omnivorous. And so here's an example here. This is from Pico Bonito National Park area in Honduras. This collared aracari is really enjoying oil palm fruits. And here's another example of oil palms, the chestnut mandible toucan. And what they will do is they will throw the food up in the air and swallow it whole, especially if it's smaller things like fruits or bananas. And you can often see them at fruit feeders at resorts, especially bird watching resorts. But they are omnivorous, so they'll eat a lot of protein, insects, beetles, cicadas, eggs, even nestlings of other birds, other smaller passerine birds. And often you'll see a whole group of these passerine birds mobbing them, kind of like songbirds will mob hawks and owls to chase them out of the neighborhood. Once I saw an emerald toucanet eating a huge green beetle and whacking it against the tree trunk to break that very strong outer wing covers and be able to eat it. Took them about 10 minutes, but they actually finally did. And they'll even eat amphibians and reptiles. Here's an example of a chestnut mandible toucan eating a frog. You see this big frog with the big frog legs. That took them a while as well. So obviously they don't eat Fruit Loops, but that's probably how you first learned about toucans as a kid, from the box of the Kellogg's Fruit Loops. Now, in terms of voice, they're not songbirds, so they're not able to sing. They have a variety of yelps and croaks that they make depending on the species. And let me show you this little bit of this video that I filmed. And I'll turn up the sound here. So this was from Costa Rica. This is a keel-billed toucan. at Rancho Naturalista Birdwatching Lodge, one of my favorites in Costa Rica. So here's the sound of them croaking. So the toucans do enjoy staying in family groups. And so often they'll make quite a ruckus. Ruckus, ruckus. Okay, moving on. Okay, so the threats, just like a lot of other animals in the neotropics, they're threatened by habitat loss. Habitat loss from clearing for agriculture, clearing for settlements, and burning for agriculture as well as wildfires. They're also hunted extensively for the pet trade because they are so beautiful, and also for traditional medicine and even food. So 11 toucan species are listed as either near threatened, threatened, or endangered or critically endangered. And they are also threatened because some species have very small natural ranges. So if anything happens to that small natural range, of course, they're more threatened than species that have a wider range, like the collared aracari we're drawing today. So I would love it if you would please support the Toucan Rescue Ranch. And I volunteered there a while back, and they take care of lots of toucans. And here's a sad little toucan here. So the Toucan Rescue Ranch is in Costa Rica, and they started out over 20 years ago rescuing toucans and also other birds that are often captured for the pet trade, like various macaws and parrots and parakeets. And you see this poor little Stella, who is a new arrival, quite skinny and quite pale. But she's being cared for really well. So I encourage you to check out the Toucan Rescue Ranch that not only rescues toucans and sloths, but a lot of other types of birds and mammals as well. So the four main groups in the toucan family, we'll go over those, and I'll show you a few pictures before we move on to our step-by-step demonstration. There are the toucans, the mountain-toucans, the toucanettes, and the aracaris. So starting with the toucans, the keel-billed toucan, probably one of the most famous. This is near threatened because it is so beautiful. Have previously done a workshop on the keel-billed toucan, and you can find that inside the Neotropical birds course, my sketching Neotropical birds course. And here's an example of what we drew. We drew a pair of them. Here's the Toco toucan. So you'll notice as we go through these pictures that every one of them has a very interesting different color patterns. Now, a lot of these birds, you'll notice, have a lot of yellows and oranges and reds on them. And that is partly due to their diet, eating a lot of fruit that has lots of carotenoids in it. And those pigments get incorporated into their structures, their bills and their feathers. The chestnut mandibled, because they have this beautiful kind of burgundy or chestnut bill. Then there's the toucanettes. So as the word might imply, et, that means smaller. So these guys are generally a little smaller, and their bills are a little smaller and narrower. Here's one again on that favorite cecropia tree, and you can see these fruits of the cecropia tree that they and many other neotropical birds love to eat. Again, just noticing the various color patterns. Don't have as fancy of a color pattern on their bill in general as the toucans. Here's the aptly named yellow-eared, because you can forget that birds do have ears. They have holes, ear holes, just like we do, and they're right under here, under the feathers here. The emerald toucanet, aptly named for that beautiful emerald color. Golden collared, because there's a collar here that's gold. The saffron toucanet, named for that beautiful gold color. This one is near threatened. And as we go through these, again, noticing that they have that zygodactyl arrangement of toes with the 2 toes in the front and 2 in the back. There's one on either side. You can see this 3rd toe a little bit here arching back. And there's also a toe on the other side as well. Our next group are the mountain-toucans, aptly named because they live higher in the mountains in general. I was lucky to observe and paint the plate-billed mountain-toucan. I was up in Ecuador, north of Quito in the cloud forests. And they have this structure, this yellow structure that's like a plate, not like a dinner plate, but kind of just a plate. Anyway, that's how they're named. And they are near threatened. The gray-breasted mountain toucan I was also lucky to see in Ecuador in another location. And then lastly, the aracaris, including the one we're going to draw today. So there's the fiery-billed aracari with that beautiful bill you can see here. Again, getting those colors from the carotenoids in the fruit in their diet. Chestnut-eared. And then the collared aracari. Now, I believe they're named collared because of the collar here, but I would call that more of a belt because it's down near their belly. But either way, they have this black and red belt. They're common and widespread, so that's one of the main reasons we're drawing them today. So you most likely might see them if you're on vacation or traveling in the neotropics. They're from sort of southern Mexico all the way down to Ecuador. And I've seen them, yeah, in most of the countries between those 2 places. Their habitats are quite varied, so they'll be in lowland forests, and they're attracted to plantations of cacao and oil palm and other fruits like mango plantations. And here is a video that I shot. I'll show you a little bit of this, and I'll turn the audio back up. I filmed this in Belize. So again, they are quite gregarious, hanging out in family groups. And there's another reason that many of these birds are threatened because they have a lot of fidelity to the group. And so if one gets captured by mean people who are trying to capture them for food or the pet trade, then the other ones will stay nearby, and it's easier for them to be captured as well. So let's listen to a little bit of this. Sorry for that feedback there. Now they're busy eating, so they're not talking much. So you don't hear much in the background except the other birds in the forest here. We're here at Black Rock Lodge in sort of central Belize. They love fruit. They'll eat just about anything: banana, pineapple, watermelon, mangoes, papayas. So I always suggest to people that you practice sketching from videos like this. You can find a lot of videos on YouTube of just about any animal in the world. And so after you've practiced a bit sketching from photographs and really understanding the anatomy, then I suggest you move on to sketching from videos. And that's one reason I try to take so many of these videos while I'm traveling and sharing them with you on our Facebook group. And I hope you are a member of our Facebook group, and I invite you to post your sketches there. Okay, we're going to move on here. All right, so we're just about to start drawing our Collared Aracari using our sketching cheat sheet, and just going over this handout really quickly because you've probably seen this a million times, but this is my 6-step roadmap to sketching success. So start out drawing light and loose, keep that pencil moving, avoid erasing until the end, glancing back and forth frequently between your subject and your paper. Envision sculpting from the outside in and have fun. And those 6 steps you think about while you're drawing are blocking in your basic shapes, looking at the relative proportions of those shapes, noticing angles and alignments, flow lines, angles, and negative shapes. Okay, so I hope you're ready to get started. I hope you've got your graphite pencil and perhaps some colored pencils as well. So first, I'll just do a little arc of a sort of an outline to get the basic shape of the whole bird. Sort of a triangle there, the beak and the head and the line of the trunk. Starting off very light and loose. I'll do a little bit of measurements here, knowing where my trunk is. Then the arc of the head will start right at the forehead. Those black feathers arching over onto the neck. Again, staying feather light. And we're going to focus on the beak. It's very long, of course, in this family. That's one of the defining characteristics. So we're going to notice just how long it is, measuring. The beak can be about as long as most of the body. And then noticing how wide it is. Again, kind of ground truthing. The width and the length of the whole bill. Then we'll divide it up into the upper and lower bills. And the Aracaris have sort of a longer, narrower bill than the toucans. Pretty much like a rectangle with just a arched tip at the end where the upper bill overlaps the lower a little bit. As always, we're going to continue to check back and forth, looking at our sketch and looking at our photograph. Arching that bill, and it's going to overlap a little bit right there, coming to a point. That pointy edge helping it to get into the fruit. This is mainly a frugivore, focusing on eating fruits. Then once we get that outline firmed up, we're going to divide it between the upper and lower bill. And we'll see some serrations as well. The characteristic serrations that are kind of white and tooth-like along the edge of that bill. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that you can see that are white, and a couple more towards the tip of the bill that are blackish purple. And every individual bird looks a little bit different. Now pushing a little bit harder, but continuing to double check our shapes. Firming up again now, pushing a little bit harder. I wanted that arc to be a little bit better. It's a little bit hard with the paper taped down. I would suggest if you can angle your paper to make it more ergonomic, you'll get a better, more realistic arc there at the tip of the bill. I think mine was a little bit pinched in. I'm sure you can do better. So now we're gonna Double check again our proportions. Feeling good about it. Okay, we're going to move on. I do notice that the bill has that white outline there, just firming up the edge before I go to the eye. The eye is big and yellow. The iris is yellow and the pupil is blackish purple. And there's a second line around the yellow. Kind of a second ring around the eye. You may notice. Notice also the eye is not a perfect circle. So getting that second ring around the eye. Now we're noticing that pink area that has no feathers, so you can see the pink skin. It's a little bit wrinkled. It comes into a little kind of a triangle above and below the eye and goes out towards the back. Towards the back of the neck. Now we're going to start with the rest of the head here. So we're going to switch back to our main picture, getting those fluffy forehead feathers there, arching over to the back of the neck. Now remember, this bird is facing towards us, but he's kind of looking, he or she is kind of looking to the right. So we see a little bit more of the side of the bill, but the rest of the body we're looking at more from the front. So it's very foreshortened. So we're going to be drawing this wing and we're only seeing the front sort of shoulder of the wing. The rest of the body and the tail is behind. So just noticing this bird is a lot shorter than it would be if we were looking at it completely from the side. So outlining that right wing of the bird, double checking the width and the length of it. That wing is that beautiful iridescent purplish black. Then continuing on to the arc of the belly that is mostly yellow with some orange and red. So just noticing that arc. We'll start at the neck and then it'll get a little bit heavier there where the main body starts. Double checking our widths or the depth that it is of the belly. And the arc of the belly going a little bit below and beyond to the right of that wing we just drew. Double checking our widths. Of course, you can't do this in the field, but with a photograph, you are able to do that. It's always good to practice drawing birds from photographs before you start drawing them in the field, so you really understand their anatomy. Now we've got some of those black feathers that are showing behind the bill from sort of the bird's right cheek. Then we see the bird's right wing sticking out a little bit there behind the rump there. And we're going to get started on the legs, noticing where that leg is coming out. So we've got those two thighs that are kind of a burnt sienna color. So we'll get that thigh, and sort of the ankle of the bird is hidden behind the moss. And the other leg, you see a little bit more of the ankle and the rest of the bare featherless leg. Seeing them slightly at different angles. Again, the feet are pretty much facing directly towards us and arched out a little bit. So the toes are going to look a little bit different on both. Now remember, this family has a zygodactyl arrangement of toes, meaning there's 2 that wrap around the front of the branch and 2 that wrap around the front and 2 that wrap around the back. And the outer one is longer than the inner one. So we've got those 2 toes. Drawing those. Again, always starting light to get the basic shape. And then when you're more comfortable with feeling like you've got that accurate, firming it up and darkening it. Again, noticing that inner toe is shorter. And then you've got a nail. And the outer toe is longer. With the nail kind of hidden. I'm digging into the green moss there. Then there's these horizontal kind of parallel lines on the bare skin of the toes, because the toes have several joints in them, and at those joints they have these little folds of skin. So we're going to draw those. And I'm just pointing my right finger to keep track. So now I'm just going to get the rest of that branch so that I can put that other leg on. And you can make that branch as interesting as you want. If you want to add some more moss and lichen, maybe an orchid or bromeliad, whatever you want to do. So now that I added that branch, I can put the foot on the front of it. So again, we've got that burnt sienna colored thigh, and we see a little bit more of the actual bare skinned leg than we did the first leg there. And again, we've got the 2 toes, and we see a little bit of one of the toes that goes back, that's wrapping back around, because we see this leg at a little bit different angle. So I drew that right there. So the more you practice drawing something from photographs and really looking closely at the anatomy, like the fact that they have the 2 toes that wrap around the front, the more confident you'll be sketching them in the field if you're lucky enough to go on vacation to Central America where this species lives. And you won't have to see all the parts just exactly because you'll have memorized what they look like. So firming up those toes, again, making the inner one a little bit shorter, adding those nails of each toe. Then adding the parallel lines. Now we're going to do the kind of the tail. We only see a little bit of it, and it's farther away. And, oh wait, sorry. We're not going to do that. We're going to finish up with the belly, because I noticed the belly has kind of 2 arches. If you notice right there, there's 2 arches where the feathers come together down the middle of the breast, and they make a little indentation. It's very subtle, but I thought I'd add that there. Then I'm going to just put the tail. We're not going to put any details in that. I'm just shading it a little bit. You see that triangle, that negative shape of the triangle of the green forest behind the tail. All right, looking around. Now we're going to firm things up one more time. So going back to the full picture here, we're going to get those areas of color. Collared. This is the collared aracari. So they've kind of got that black collar around their neck and also sort of a belt of black and red down towards their belly. So just getting the outline of that black on the chest there and the red and then the black belt. So firming up that black belt area there. Now I'm trying not to put too much graphite on this picture because I am going to finish this up in colored pencil. And graphite and colored pencil really don't play very well together. So before I move on to the colored pencil, I'll lighten up this graphite a bit. So continuing to look a little bit, I want to put some little definition of feathers on the wing. Now inside the my courses, I've got whole workshops on the anatomy of wings, as well as bills and legs and tails and everything else. So you may or may not have seen those before. So we're not going to put a lot of energy into that right now, but we see that wing and we see a few of those smaller feathers arching, sort of like tiles on a roof. And then a few of the secondary and primaries. So I'm just going to put a few arching lines there. Right there for the secondaries and the primaries. But again, we're really seeing this foreshortened, so we don't see a lot of detail there since all that's facing away from us. So now that we have our outline, I'm going to do a quick demonstration of colored pencils. Now, often I'll start with a watercolor background and then use colored pencils for my details, but here we're just starting on the regular paper. And normally I would lighten my graphite pencil lines a little bit so that they wouldn't mix with the colored pencils. And so I'm going to do a quick demo, about 5 minutes, just to show you how I get started. And the secret really is to layering your colored pencils very lightly, one over another. And my favorite brands are Faber-Castell, Prismacolor, and Derwent. So here I'm going to show you my demo, and we're going to have a background of keel-billed toucans. So here's some of my pencils. And here's my viewfinder that I use to match my colors. And I'm just going to very quickly get a little bit of background color, especially because of the tip of that bill is white, and so it won't show up very well against white paper. So we're listening to the sound of keel-billed toucans in Costa Rica as the background to this demonstration. So again, the secret is lots of light layers. So we're going to look at that bill, and we're going to be looking at the yellows and pinks and reds and purples, blues. I'm going to start with that upper bill and get those pinks and the oranges. Then lightly using lots of different colors over each other with a very light touch. Looking at the tip of that bill, one might just say it's black and choose black color, but it really makes sense to add some other colors. So I'm going to be using grays and blues and purples, as well as black, and that will give my drawing a lot more personality. If you just jumped right to that black pencil for that black lower bill, it would look very dead. It would not be very interesting looking. So colored pencils generally should be seen through each other, sort of like layers of different colored stained glass. You can see one color under the other, and they blend more beautifully like that. So again, lots of colors on this upper bill. Using that viewfinder to compare our colors. Looking at those serrations, which are characteristic of the family. Darkening up that upper bill and a little bit of that green background to contrast with the white of the upper bill. Now again, working on that lower bill and not just grabbing a black pencil, but layering many layers of blues and purples and a little bit of black at the end. Gives a lot more personality. Firming up the edge of those serrations, which are characteristic of the Ramphastidae family. The toucans and aracaris, mountain-toucans and toucanettes. Now going on to the eye a little bit, the yellow iris and the black pupil. So I kind of do like to skip around a lot, but you get the idea here. So I hope you really enjoyed this quick demonstration of how to draw a collared aracari. Okay, thank you so much for joining me today for this workshop on the toucan family, or the Ramphastidae. I hope you really enjoyed learning about toucans and aracaris and mountain toucans and toucanettes, a little bit about their biology and anatomy and where they live and the threats to them. So I hope you enjoyed this sketching step-by-step demonstration, and that you continue on finishing up your collared aracari in colored pencil or whatever your favorite medium is. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.